And what we need is a Democratic county judge and a Democratic county attorney, a DA. And that way, the new court, if it's made up of 3 Democrats, can basically stop any type of litigation and try to undo what was done. And to have a DA who will advise these commissioners to say, hey, this probably isn't the best thing to do, because it's going to cost the county tens and tens of thousands of dollars. So those are the things that you can do moving forward, is to help us achieve those aims. I will be in touch with you in the future about the day we have some type of community fundraiser to help pay for this litigation. But I want you to know, so long as I'm your JP, working in tandem with Councilman Youngs, we are going to fight this every step of the way, because what they did was just flatly wrong, and I'm not about to go away and just let it happen without a fight. So I thank you all for being here on a Saturday during the holiday season, when you probably could be out shopping and doing other things, listening about what's taking place in the community. So thank you very much, and if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Any questions?
Mr. Gonzalo.
Real quick, time frame on the injunction.
Time frame on the injunction, that I hope to have a decision whether or not that will go forward probably next week. It'll be something that our attorney, Steve Maxwell, will have to do. I understand we're rolling into the holidays. That's going to slow things down. I hope sometime after the first of the year, and that'll also happen with the federal lawsuit that we file probably after the first of the year. Mr. Gonzalez, you have any question? Okay. No, everyone can hear you.
Here's one here. You can get that one.
Like we're going to do a new way.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for that summary. Just as a piece, this is not only is this an issue, but there is a greater issue that still involves this, and that is the whole county government structure, in my opinion, is underrepresented of the diversity that we see in our community. So I would hope that once you unravel this, once you start having this in the public eye, the public debate going on, the lawsuits I think that issue also needs to be brought up. As you pointed out, the district attorney, Mr. Alford, is running for, and you're also looking for a possible Democratic chair. Again, I think what we're seeing is the result of, I'm not trying to be impolite, but basically the result of racism, institutional racism that we have in our county government. Until that is brought out, we will continue to be fighting these battles. So I would hope that in your efforts, we will reveal and unravel the extent of the unrepresentation that we have in our county government. And I wish you success in your effort. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gonzalez, and that's right. And I think even Commissioner Allen may, I don't want to speak for her, but there's a lot of speculation that she's leaving, not running again, just because of the unfair treatment, the racism, and even misogyny that's taking place there at the county commissioner's court level. But getting back to your other point, and we have candidates here, but I think this is the first time that the Democratic Party essentially has multiple candidates for judge, multiple candidates for DA, multiple candidates for a whole host of other positions, which speaks volumes. And hopefully, the more we run, the more seats we will pick up in order to do the public good. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Speaker, did you?
Well, redistricting can sometimes be a ploy, from one party to the other, to regain power, as has been seen recently. There is 14 states right now that are doing redistricting. Do you have an update? Do you know where those are gaining, losing seats? And then at the national level, the thing that's been most disappointing about this administration is the attack on voting rights. I mean, at the state legislature, we had Romero fighting the battle, but ultimately lost. So I don't know if you wanted to touch into those two topics of, you know, redistricting, how's that going in other states, and voting rights being under assault, you know, with all the, you know, challenges to minority voters having access to voting, almost like back in the Jim Crow days, you know.
But you're right. Now I think Domingo would have a better aspect nationally of what's going on. But you're absolutely right. What happened to Ramon, what happened to State Representative Ramon, what happened to Senator Powell, the new congressional district that we're trying to get. It's across the country. You know, former AG Holder has started a group. It's a national group to try to fight redistricting battles across the country. And one of the things that I wish the Obama administration would have done is done a better job of appointing judges to the bench who are now going to be hearing a lot of these cases. So I think that's part of it as well. Let me defer to Domingo if you want to add anything with respect to what the across the country is happening.
Now, we got real litigation everywhere. Chicago, Illinois, we're trying to get congressional districts. Florida, Iowa, and Colorado. Right now, LULAC is in litigation in all those states, and in Georgia. So we expect that the redistricting is actually happening in 50 states, but most states lost congressional districts. Texas got 2. And 95% of the vote was because of Latinos, and we got 0 Latino districts. So that's why we're in litigation.
Very good, thank you. I think Tara had a question. Or a comment.
I was just going to ask, you talk about what you can do. I really think you'll get that people understand that, like, they are able to give testimony and be a part of these lawsuits and speak on the things on how it actually affects them and their neighborhoods and our communities, especially our communities in North Side, predominantly Latino, Hispanic. So can you kind of go into just a little bit, I know you've been speaking a lot, a little education on how y'all go about getting the testimony in place so that the lawsuit can get filed in that aspect?
Well, sure. Here locally, the testimony basically has been from people who were impacted. And most of that has to do with the map that was created. The map that was created essentially took parts of Arlington, parts of Southwest Fort Worth, and what they did is that they cracked away the minority communities and then packed them into Precinct 5 and packed them into Precinct 8, which were already minority strongholds. And so clear violations. The witness testimony that we're looking for are for those that were in the old Precinct 6 who now find themselves in the new Precinct 5. So those are the witnesses that we will be looking for, at least for the state we did for the state suit with respect to the temporary injunction. With respect to the federal lawsuit, that will really rely on the testimony of experts who can analyze the data and can give the court an idea of the impact that it had. So, and I don't know if there'll be there are any witnesses that'll be required for that. If so, we'll obviously take a look around the community and see who would be a good fit for that. Any others? Okay, thank you very much.
Gracias. Okay, our next speaker is running for district attorney of Tarrant County. He has a bachelor's from Fairview A&M. He got his doctor of law degree from my alma mater, Thurgood Marshall School of Law. And he got his first job with the Dallas County District Attorney's Office, where he was named Prosecutor of the Year, and he is now running for district attorney of Tarrant County. Let's give a big hand to John Roberts.
Good morning. How y'all doing? Good. I know it's early, huh? It's early and it's Texas, so yesterday it's 80 degrees and you wake up this morning it's 40. So if your house is like mine, your thermometer switch, overnight. But no, it's always good to be in the room with you guys and ladies, and I say that respectfully and understanding that I've been in this room with y'all a number of times. Again, my name is Albert Roberts, and I'm running to be your next Tarrant County District Attorney. We have an opportunity here in Tarrant County, not only to elect myself as District Attorney, but we're going to elect a new DA next year. And I tell you guys that, I mean, you guys should clap for yourselves. You're going to elect a new DA next year. Well, and I say that because we've had the same folks in the same places for a long time. And, you know, certain people we want in those places, and other folks we can do better. And so when we have an opportunity to do better, it's our responsibility to understand what we can do, how we can do it, and how we're going to do better. I'm a product of Fort Worth ISD, public schools. And so those of you that have been following closely, you know that Fort Worth ISD schools are under attack. And I say they're under attack by, there's some folks who really want to go into our schools and talk about some CRT and some other things that are kind of just, they don't want to talk about equity. And so I know you guys are probably following Norma Garcia Lopez, a friend of ours, and a friend of mine, I'll say. She was the co-chair on the Race and Equity Task Force, and you know, she literally received death threats just being the co-chair of that task force. And that happened right here at Fort Worth ISD. And so I tell you that because those death threats she received were from the other side. And I say the other side, the folks who don't want to see inclusion, equity, and a fair shot. And so I tap into that because you're like, well, how does that got to do with DA? Well, when I hear Judge De Leon talk, and we talk about drawing maps, maps are about equity. Maps are about representation. Maps are about a voice. Elections are about the same thing. But what I'd ask you all to do is, when you look at why you vote, who you vote, when you vote, you got to find a connection to somebody. And you got to say, well, who thinks like me, talks like me, sounds like me, acts like me. And I say that respectfully, but I'm a graduate of Dunbar High School. I got 2 kids in Fort Worth ISD. They're 9 years old and 5 years old. And so I trust that this school district gets it right. Because I'm counting on not only this school district, but this city to get it right. And I'm counting on this county to get it right. And when I say I'm counting on it, because I'm invested. I'm here, and I'm here for the long haul. And so I know the work that we have to do is a lot of organizing. You guys know it's election season, so not only are we going to get a new DA, but there's a lot of candidates for DA. On the Democratic side, I believe right now there's 2 candidates, and on the Republican side, I believe there's 3 candidates. And I'll tell you, it's not going to be easy for anybody to win the race, but we're going to get a new DA because the current DA decided, you know what, maybe I've done it too long, or I don't know, I can't tell you what the reason why she's not running again, but I can tell you that that's a check mark for us. Because I ran this race 4 years ago against the current incumbent DA, and with your help, we got 47% of the vote. And what I'm telling you is, that was 4 years ago. Beto ran for U.S. Senate at the time. Obviously, it's 4 years later, we've done more organizing, we've done more voter turnout, we've registered more 18, 19, 20, 21-year-olds. And as we do that work, we got to realize what's the implications of that. And so, you know, folks that come to mind when I think of, you know, voter intimidation as it relates to the DA's office, the name Rosa Ortega may come to some minds. Rosa Ortega was convicted of voting and sentenced to 8 years in prison. And so part of my platform is understanding what does our community care about and what don't we care about. Because we got to reprioritize who we're putting in jail. When somebody's sitting in the county jail, you're talking about a price tag of at least $100 a day. At least, if not more. And so low-level nonviolent offenses, we can't continue to do business as we've done business. We can't be tough on crime, that's the old way. I say the old way, we got to really focus on public safety. When we talk about public safety, what does our community want to see? Who do we want to see behind bars? Who do we want to see back at home? We can't lock up everybody. We're not going to build our way out of this criminal industrial complex. And so, Rosa Ortega got sentenced to 8 years in prison for voting. Another person that comes to mind, Crystal Mason. You may or may not be familiar with her. She's a woman who cast a provisional ballot. Those of you that work elections or understand elections know a provisional ballot goes into a box. That box isn't open unless it needs to be open. But needless to say, that box was open for her to be prosecuted. And she received a 5-year prison sentence for casting a ballot that didn't even count. And so, I mentioned Rosa Ortega and I mentioned Crystal Mason. Why do I mention both of their names? One, it ties into kind of what we're talking about when we talk about voting and voting rights and voter intimidation and reasons why our community may turn out and reasons why sometimes our community is scared to turn out. It's kind of like the dog whistle. You know, the two things I'll tell you those people got in common, both of them are women and both of them are people of color. And so if they can stop people of color from voting or amplifying their voice, mission accomplished. Because if people of color are not willing to go down to the county commissioner's court and speak up on our behalf, file a lawsuit on our behalf, you know, I tell, you know, Judge De Leon and Constable Munoz, thank you. Thank you for representing our community. And it's not easy. Because again, as you do these things, and you're running for public office, or you're in public office, you realize there's going to be some level of scrutiny that comes along with that. But you also realize, how did you get to office? Your community they gave you the opportunity for public service. And so when you got that opportunity, you want to take advantage of it. And part of taking advantage of it is realizing when the least enfranchised, the lowest person, the person who can't vote, the person who's on parole, the person who's on probation, doesn't have a voice, because the people that represent them are scared to, we got a problem. And what we have to do is we have to realize the people that won't fight for us, we have to replace them. We have to move them out the way. And we have to find new fighters, people who are willing to put skin in the game, people who realize that elections matter. Do y'all know when the election day next year, primaries? March 1st. When does early voting start? Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day. So if you're sitting at the table with somebody that you love or you don't love, or you, whatever the case may be, for Valentine's Day, y'all go vote. You know? We're going to get it started like that. And voting, obviously early voting is about 2 weeks, and then, like I say, election day is that first Tuesday in March. But what I'd ask you all to do is look into these races, find candidates. There's going to be some door knocking, some phone calling, some block walking, some, you know, pretty please with sugar on top, asking for support, asking for signatures, asking for money, because obviously elections aren't free. You just can't win an election with nothing. If you don't try, you don't raise, you don't do, you don't. If you don't, then you don't. And so what I'm challenging Tarrant County to do is let's do. And what does that mean? You don't have to do everything. Let's do something. You know, if we all do just something, we'll be better for it. And not only will we be better for it, our children will be better for it. Our nephews, our nieces, our aunts, our uncles, our community will be better for it, because you put skin in the game. And you'll be able to look back on that 2022 election and say, you know what? I had skin in the game. Not only in March, but I put skin in the game in November. And then when you wake up on late in November, and I say late in November, but that first Wednesday in November, you'll be able to say, the reason Tarrant County has changed leadership structure and power structure, and the reason we have new justices of the peace that represent our community, new constables that represent our community, new county commissioners, new DAs, and maybe a new attorney general, maybe a new governor that represents our community, is because you put skin in the game. And so I'd ask you all to kind of reflect on that, about how much skin you're able to put in the game, what you're willing to do. Again, I'm not asking you to do a lot, I'm just asking you to do something. And so I'm here. If you guys have any questions, please ask. I'm an open book, so I don't mind answering any questions.
Are there any questions?
One over here. No, it was I think you spoke about it earlier. We spoke briefly about it earlier in regards to Ms. Mason. The current DA doubled down on their position, and I assume that, assuming it goes into that time frame, and assuming that you win, hopefully, I assume that you'll take action to countermand whatever's given possible. Is that a safe assumption?
So So yeah, let me try to piggyback on that. Your question is, I guess, specifically about Crystal Mason, correct? So Crystal Mason has been convicted. She was convicted by a judge in Tarrant County. He heard the evidence. He said that she's guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. Sentenced her to 5 years in prison. That case was appealed. That, keep in mind. Let's don't sugarcoat it. Let's just speak facts. That judge is a Republican. The case was appealed to the Second Court of Appeals. The Second Court of Appeals are all elected judges. The Second Court of Appeals heard the case. They denied it. They denied the appeal. That court is elected. All Republicans. We're not, I mean, like I said, if I was making this stuff up, somebody could correct me. And please do if you know something different. That case is now pending before the highest court in the state of Texas. The highest criminal court, the Court of Criminal Appeals. And so that court is made up of all Republicans. Those people are elected statewide. And so that court has an opportunity because this is a lawsuit that not only is she being represented by the ACLU, there's a number of entities across the nation that have submitted what they call amicus briefs in support of overturning her conviction. We're talking about U.S. attorneys, from the Northern District. We're talking about Republican appointees and Democratic appointees to U.S. attorneys that they've signed on to a letter. There's an opportunity for Texas to still get it right. And I say Texas for the highest body, electoral body to get it right. And that's the Court of Criminal Appeals. There's also an opportunity for the governor. Because the governor at any point could always, issue her a pardon. And so, again, we can hold our breath. Maybe Governor Abbott will do it. And I say that. I mean, I'm hopeful. I'm always hopeful. Because, again, Crystal Mason's a mother. She's a grandmother. She's got a family. And so she's on bond right now. She's on what's called an appeal bond. But that appeal bond is basically delaying the actual 5-year prison sentence that she would eventually have to serve. What I'm committed to as the next district attorney of Tarrant County is a conviction integrity unit that works. When I say a conviction integrity unit that works, a conviction is not what a prosecutor should be about, even though historically it's been associated with that. The role of a prosecutor is not to convict, but to see that justice is done. And so I think there's a strong argument to be made that in that case, I don't know if we were trying to get justice. And if we weren't, then we need to look at that case. And so a conviction integrity unit, having worked under Craig Watkins over in Dallas County, he created one of the most robust conviction integrity units in the nation. And when I say that, I'm saying like he got national acclaim for basically DNA exonerations, people sitting in jail for 20, 30, 40 years, overturning those cases. A conviction that's good today should be good tomorrow. It should be good 20, 50 years from now. And if it's not, as your next DA, I'm committed to having a conviction integrity unit that works. So if there's a case where somebody's sitting in prison and we need to go back and look at that case, then we need to put some lawyers and we need to put some investigators on it. We need to figure out what happened, why it happened, how it happened. Is there anything that we can do about it legally and factually that makes sense? Does that make sense?
I have a question.
Sure.
If you were DA,
If you were district attorney at the present time, how would you be advising the commissioner's court with respect to the redistricting lawsuit that we brought?
That's a great question. So again, when we talk about taxpayer money, there's a lot of places that we need, a lot of things that we need in this county. When we talk about who's locked up in our county jail, most of the people sitting in our county jail are people of color. Let's don't sugarcoat it. Why? People of color can't afford bond. And if you can't afford bond, that means you get to spend extra days in jail. The last place that this county needs to be spending money is on defending a institutional racist map in lawsuit. So literally, our tax dollars, ours, in this room, everybody that pays taxes, what we're gonna do is, our lawyers, the county's lawyers, are gonna fight tooth and nail and try to explain why, what happened, this map that got adopted overnight, literally, why it was a good idea. And I think that's a challenging position to put our county and our taxpayers in. And so, I mentioned that I start with the jail because we talk about how many dollars we spend a day, and I said $100 on the low end for somebody who has they don't have any mental health or they don't need any medical services. But we realize, like I said, most of the people sitting in the jail are poor and they're people of color, and a lot of them do suffer from some other ailment. But if we're going to spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally, I mean, a case isn't going to be a case. I mean, I think the TRO has already been heard, but the actual litigation, lawyers are going to make a lot of money. They just are. It's not gonna weed out in the first round. It doesn't matter who wins. I mean, I just told you guys about Crystal Mason. There's a trial level. That case will, if one side wins or the other, that case will go up. That case will go up. It will go up to the highest level it can go. Because we're fighting fights that matter. But as the county, we're defending institutional racism. As we talk about forward ISD and CRT and things like that, those little weird buzzwords that they want to talk about, let's call a spade a spade. It's not cool. Nobody asked the maps to be redrawn, but the folks who are in jeopardy of losing, that's who wants the maps redrawn. Because they can see the writing on the wall. They can see it's about time to pick up your bag and go home. And what I challenge you all to do is let's help them pick up their bag and go home. And let's do that in all sectors of Tarrant County where we have these opportunity districts, these opportunity pickups, and realize that folks that are running for DA, that in my opinion, maybe shouldn't be running for DA. And I say that respectfully because as we talk about, some of those phrases, I mean, think about it. There's a guy that represents a House district right here in Tarrant County that's running for DA right now. And I say he's running on the Republican ticket, but his name is Matt Krause. And some of you may be familiar with Matt Krause and may not. I'm not going to indoctrinate you with any feelings one way or another, but I'll say some battles we need to fight. Thank you, Constable Munoz and Judge De Leon for fighting those battles. And some battles we don't need to fight. And I don't think Tarrant County is spending tax money wisely by defending this lawsuit.
You got two more. Is that a reach?
I'm not sure what the stance was with the last DA on minor drug offenses, less than 2 months. I think I had read something about if they could prove it sober for 90 days, they might dismiss his cases or something like that. I know across the state and other places, there's an effort, probably more in the Austin area, decriminalization of minor possession of marijuana. And I know it varies by county, or I guess municipalities, is that correct? Like say, Lake Worth, River Oaks, something like that within Tarrant County. So what is your stance on decriminalization of minor marijuana possession? And is there even maybe like a push for the state to legalize it like other states around the country have? Because a great portion of our jail population is for people with drug offenses. And usually a lot of them are not, major drug possession. Maybe it's like repeated minor. So what is your stance on that?
Thank you. Great question. Tarrant County is still prosecuting a joint. If you get caught with a joint in Tarrant County, you still go to jail right now. A joint, a blunt. You guys are familiar with terminology like this, but that causes you to be arrested and go to jail. And you have to post a bond, and you have to get out, and you have to hire a lawyer like myself to represent you, to go to court and fight to not go to jail, to not be convicted. And we got to realize when we get low-level, just a possession of marijuana offense, you convict somebody of low-level possession of marijuana, that triggers a driver's license suspension. That triggers the ineligibility for federal financial aid for our young students. It's unfortunate. Dallas County, they don't prosecute possession of marijuana under 2 ounces. Or misdemeanor, they don't do it. As your next district attorney, I'm committed to focusing on spending tax dollars where they need to be spent. And they don't need to be spent on locking people up for that. So possession of marijuana is not something that we would prosecute at the misdemeanor level because it doesn't pay the bills. Our taxpayers don't care about it. And I'll say, to add on to that,
there's a reason why the legislature has adopted and changed the laws a little bit on this, but it costs so much money to test marijuana properly now because of the change in the law, because of the CBD and some of the other things. It's actually legal to have a certain amount of THC in your possession. They sell it over the counter. And so it's gotten very complicated as to who and where and what should be prosecuted. But I'll tell you, Tarrant County is not that complicated. In Tarrant County, they still prosecute. You go to Dallas County, John Cruzo, he's not prosecuted. And as your next district attorney, I'm committed to changing that and bringing that revolutionary thinking to our criminal justice system.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I love district attorneys just because they can't pronounce your last name and they don't want to mess with the deal. They lock up a lot of Hispanics, Black Americans. And a lot, you go to the prison system, because I go up there and talk to the prisoners, and let me tell you, they got more Blacks and Hispanics than I've ever seen in my life inside that prison system. And nobody cares. That's why we need somebody that's going to care. Somebody that's going to help out the community, the Hispanics, or Latinos, and the Black community. Because, I mean, they're locking us up, but they're spending taxpayers' dollars, what, $1,500 a month apiece or more for each person. You know, that's kind of crazy for me. I mean, over marijuana, I didn't even know that New York had legal the marijuana, and my niece said, I'm smoking in front of a cop. And I said, yeah, right. I said, put him on the phone. See, yeah, you can do whatever you want, smoke in the park, smoke on, who cares? It's just marijuana. You know, I don't smoke it, but I'm just saying. You know, there's people that take Oxycontin, hydrocodone, and hardcore drugs that are all messed up and destroyed their lives. But if they can smoke a couple of hits and go to sleep and their pain goes away, so be it. It's all natural. That's just my opinion, but the state of Texas has always been racist. Especially more for the older guys. Because they know that back in the day, what do you think they started LULAC? To help out the Hispanic community. Because they were so messed up. And people just didn't care. So they said, we're going to stand up and we're going to do something about this. And if you get elected, I really do pray and hope that you do the right thing.
And I appreciate that. I appreciate the comment, and it's unfortunate. And I'll piggyback on that. One of the things that's also unfortunate is our school-to-prison pipeline. The fact that at third grade, those STAR scores, those STAR test scores, are determining the beds that they build for prison. Because they said if you can't pass the STAR test at third grade, we need to build a bed for you at 17. And so that school-to-prison pipeline is real. Our 10-year-olds are sitting over in juvenile. 10, 11, 12, 13. Their cases are being heard in front of Judge Alex Kim. I ask you guys to pay attention. These elections matter. There are people on the ballot. Their decisions matter. Their decisions affect our children, our grandchildren, they affect us. So we got work to do. I ask you, just do something between now and March. Do something.
Thank you. All right, our next speaker is Constable Pedro Munoz, Precinct 5. I don't know how many of you know what a constable is. A lot of people think constables are like Fort Worth police officers. Constables have actually different job duties. They serve papers, they do protection and protections for the peace court. And so let's give a big hand to start Constable Pedro Munoz.
First, I'd like to say thank you for everybody being here. I know it's a little chilly outside, and it's important that we're here. I'd like to thank Domingo LULAC for always providing our community a platform to speak on and have these discussions. So I'd just like to thank everybody. One of the things that I want to just touch on, I'm going to keep it short. I think Judge Levion did a great job explaining the issues that we're going through with redistricting. So I'm just going to hit on the simple point of what was done was wrong. It was underhanded and very disrespectful to our community. I hope we can all pull together and support each other in this venture. I think ultimately we're going to prevail just because it's the right thing to do. We're going to fight it, and we're going to come out better for it in the end. Thank you. Any questions for me? Thank you.
So we had a short program because it's Christmas. Oh, yeah. I want you to know questions and I want to...
Una pregunta acá atrás. ¿Qué pasó?
Buenos días. Good morning. What I wanted to find out, maybe Albert, you could answer this, I don't know. How can we get the sheriff's department to be accountable for all those deaths that have happened? And it doesn't seem like too many people are concerned about it. What's going on?
Elect a new sheriff and a different commissioner's court and a new DA to really bring the scrutiny that ultimately warrants. I was talking to Richard Gonzalez earlier about this very matter, and he was saying it was the Dallas Morning News, not the Fort Worth Star Telegram, that brought that story to light. So I agree. I'll pass it to Mr. Ruff.
I'll say, those of you may remember, just last year, in 2020, we had an opportunity in Tarrant County to elect a new sheriff. A guy by the name of Vance Keys. He ran for sheriff last year, he came up a little short. We have to organize, we have to do something. We have to share a post, we have to show up to events, we have to volunteer. If we don't work, we won't win. If we don't win, they do whatever they want to do. And so if people are dying in custody, and so let me stand up, now I'm getting passionate. So part of my platform is ending mass incarceration. People are sitting in our county jail, people of color, and they're dying. And the newspaper's not reporting it. And the newspaper's not reporting it because, again, this is politics as usual. Until we vote, until we do things that demand change and demand power structure change, those deaths should be being investigated by the Texas Rangers, the DA's office, and the Attorney General's office. Should be. Are they? What's the update? I don't know, and neither do you. And I'll tell you, until we have a structural change, we're not going to get the accountability that we want from those elected officials, and they're going to continue, our people are going to continue to suffer, and suffer in vain. So I'd ask that you continue to engage yourself in the process to understand that last year, 21 people died in the Tarrant County Jail. Now, did those people commit a crime? You realize most of the people in the jail haven't been convicted of a crime. They're accused of a crime. And so you're saying people are dying before they're convicted? That's what I'm saying. And so we really got to take a look at ourselves and see what else we can do to help hold those individuals accountable.
All right, thank you. We got Councilman Flores here who would like to make a couple of PSAs, and now we're open for community announcements.
Thank you, Domingo. Good morning. Buenos dias, everybody. I'll be very brief. I did want to bring up everyone to speed on what's going on the city council front. We're about to turn over to the next year, but there are very important things that are happening. Okay, redistricting, we've already heard, what's going on the county level, the state level. It's also going on at the city level, as well as the Fort Worth ISD. I serve on the Fort Worth ISD redistricting committee, and as a council member representing District 2, I also have part in the city's redistricting effort, and that is ongoing. Lately, you may have heard that council is going to allow for a little more time, approximately a week's time more, to take in more maps from the community. So I urge you, please, if you're not familiar, with that process, you can contact me, contact the city's, call center, and they will tell you how to go about doing it. If you don't have any experience with the maps at this point in time, I would suggest you get in touch with groups that have already been actively involved submitting maps so that you can give some input and submit your own map. Because really that is the best way for us and the redistricting committee that's headed by former city council member Sal Espino, who are currently working on these things. They've already received maps, approximately 19 of them. They're looking at them, they're going to down select, and then they're going to submit those to the city council. Per our city charter, the city council has the final say if what map is accepted. So what are we looking at here, aside from the general criteria that is required? We're looking at compactness, right? We're looking at a map that equitably represents districts. We're adding 2 council districts. We want those to be opportunity districts. so that everyone has an opportunity to vote for and get elected their own representative. Okay, now when I say that, please understand, that does not guarantee a certain electoral outcome. You still have to get out and vote. Those opportunity districts just give you added opportunity to do so. So please, contact me. I can give you more information about that. Call the city's call center and ask for information on redistricting. You can also go to the city website, and there's plenty of information there, including the maps that are being considered. Okay, second thing, the bond program. Every 4 years, the city of Fort Worth gives the opportunity for voters to vote on a bond program. What is a bond program? For those that don't know, is that the city of Fort Worth has capital dollars, and it raises them by selling municipal bonds. Raises money, we use that money for capital improvement, like road improvements, bridge work, public facilities, parks, neighborhood streets, whatever and wherever the need is. That's what we look at. At this bond, fortunately, the city of Fort Worth is in a good financial position. We have approximately $400 million in capacity. We've already had several public meetings. We had 5 open houses, 7 public meetings, and we also added, by request, even other meetings that have been had. Where are we at this point? Come January, the city council is going to start down selecting and looking more specifically at where we're at. We've added additional bond proposals. We've in fact added $60 million to that bond after hearing what you, the public, wants to see in those bond programs. I'm happy to say that District 2 is well represented. In my district, we had to add several new arterials because those are very expensive endeavors. To give you a case in point, over the Marine Creek Ranch area, from Marine Creek, just one arterial, $31 million. These are expensive endeavors. They require money. What I need from you is to be actively involved in the bond proposal. Why? You vote on it. You vote on it. So that's coming up in May 2022. But there's plenty of opportunity right now to get your voice heard. If you have any particular concerns, things that you want to see in the bond, please contact me. And there's also a way to do it by going on the city website, gives you a point of contact there, and that sums it up. But again, many of you I won't see before the year turns, but again, Feliz Navidad, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and Happy New Year. Thank you.